Hey, everybody. Just wanted to say happy Friday to you all. Thank you all so much for joining me. I am super excited. I have a special guest who will be here with us in a few moments. I definitely want everyone to come on in the room because this is a conversation that we need to have. And it's an important conversation because it talks about insurance. And so, my guest today will be having, I'm sorry. Um, Sorry, didn't know that was going to happen. But my guest is going to have an amazing conversation as it relates to insurance. And she's going to help us understand the importance of insurance, why we need it, and more importantly, why you should be able to think about this conversation because at the end of the day, it's something that we kind of talk about, but we really don't want to talk about it because we be like, I don't want to talk about insurance. So I can't wait to welcome our guest, Miss Danielle Lewis, here, and she's going to come up and we'll go ahead and bring her in here to have this conversation. So let's go ahead and get started. Hey, Danielle,
Brandy.
how are you?
Good. I'm good. It's Friday. Everything is pretty much rolling like it's supposed to, so that's always a plus.
Well, I know it's always obviously it's Friday and everyone has a lot to do, and they are obviously very busy. But the fact that you're here and you're going to be dropping these gems for everybody, I definitely am excited to have you here because we need to talk about insurance and the importance of insurance. But before I begin, I want to be able to ensure that people know who you are. So can you introduce yourself to everyone?
Sure, definitely. So I'm Danielle S. Lewis. I consider myself the insurance boss. And the reason for that is because I make sure that you understand exactly what you need from top to bottom to make sure that you are covered. I have a lot of clients that tell me, oh, you do not just try to sell me a policy. It's not about that. It's about making sure that you are protected all the way around, making sure your entire life is protected. I am the owner of Smith Lewis Insurance Group. We are headquartered in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. We span across the southern region and some up north states. So if you are in Texas, New Mexico, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Florida, Georgia, and you don't mind my eyes going, I'm trying to remember all the states, Tennessee, Ohio, Maryland, we can definitely assist you with protecting whatever it is that you are looking to protect. We do specialize, as myself, I specialize in commercial, everything to make sure my business owners are protected. But my agency does do everything. So life, health, um, uh, personal property, whatever it is that you need to protect, we can assist you in making sure that your family doesn't go unprotected.
Okay, so let me stop here, guys. Y'all heard what she said. Now she mentioned a lot of states, right? So we're gonna have to put the states later, but that lets you know she covers how many. Well, how many states do you cover?
We are right now in 11 states, and we are waiting to hear from six more by the end of
Okay.
this summer. Yeah.
So, guys, let me for those of you who may not have heard her, let me run this back. She's in 11 states, so that means not only can she help you, but she can help your mom, your family. She mentioned a number of states that she's active in, and so we definitely want to support her because at the end of the day, guess what? That's a lot of states, and so if nothing else, you can be able to definitely reach out to her, and your family can be able to reach out to you to her for all of their insurance needs, right? But for this particular conversation, we want to go ahead and let's get ready to dive into the importance of insurance. I know Danielle said she specializes more in the commercial space, but of course we're going to talk about that at another time. But what we're going to talk about today is that other side that she was talking about that maybe her agents will do, but she is still well versed for this conversation. And so the first question is, Danielle, I know and you know, but tell everyone why we need to have insurance. Like, why do we need to have insurance on our sales? Let's talk about that first.
Yeah. So, Brandon, you and I, we talked about this before, why I even got started in the insurance industry. So in 2009, my great grandmother, which was the matriarch of our family, she passed. And I recall being at her home, and she used to have this little blue envelope on by the door. I don't know if you all know the company. I'm not going to say their name, but the little company that used to come knock on the door to get this little blue envelope. And they would pick up your insurance money. Insurance guy would
Mhm.
come and try and get you to buy a little something else, but it was never enough. So she had this policy since the year 1948,
Mhm.
paying about $85, I would say, every month since 1948. You do know back then it was very hard for African Americans to get coverage, and so they will always have small, minute policies and be paying a lot of money. And so, $85 every month since 1948. She passed in 2009, and we took this policy again. At that time, I didn't know anything about insurance. My family didn't know anything about insurance. So we took it to the funeral director. The funeral director comes back. We're not thinking we're going to be rich. We're like, but at least we can have something, to carry on. They come back, and the funeral director tells us her policy was $4,500. You do the math. From
Wait, what?
1948, yes, from 1948 up until 2009, $85 a month, policy was worth $4,500. Yes. So that right there sparked. At first, it was anger
Mhm.
inside of me because the matriarch of our family, she had made sure everything was taken care of and making sure that this bill was paid every month because she knew she needed to have it. And we have a lot of people in our community now that know they need to have insurance, but they don't have anyone to tell them what they need, how
Mhm.
they need to use it, and continue to move forward. And so, $4,500, that wasn't even enough to
Right.
bury her at the time. So, what made me get into insurance was because I felt like I was upset more along the lines of that the person that was coming to pick up that check didn't inform my grandmother that she needed more, that she needed to be able to protect, even if it wasn't to leave funds for those behind her, at least we didn't have to worry or stress about how we was going to get her into the ground. And
Right.
so that took a toll on us because we couldn't mourn her, mourn the death of our matriarch. We had to, hustle and bustle to get the rest of the funds so that she can be buried the way she was supposed to be buried. So from that point on in 2009, it has been my mission to make sure that our community understands what we need, especially life insurance for,
Right.
to make sure that our family doesn't have to go through, or any other family doesn't have to go through what we've been trying to do those GoFundMe's or, put
Mhm.
those plate lunches together or down where we're from, have those card games
Yeah.
to, get that money to put the individuals into the ground. And so it's very important. If you can take care of your cars and you can take care of your homes and protect all of this, why not your life? You've been, walking around enjoying life, but you don't realize the hurt that it causes on
Mhm.
other people, to have to bury you while you walk around and enjoy your entire life the entire time. And so it's not just about death, and that's one of the misconceptions that our community has. I don't want to leave a policy just so they can enjoy while I'm gone. I can't use it. That's
Right.
totally understandable. But there are policies out there that you can enjoy while you're living. So I tell people there are policies that have cash accrual. If you want to go on a vacation, get you a life insurance policy that has cash accrual. You can borrow against your policy to take your trip, but your family's taken care of and you can enjoy life. So it's not just about death. Life insurance is about life
Yeah.
as well.
Now, and I'm glad you said that. There are policies, guys, that she said that is not just about death. It is about living. And like you said, there are definitely different options out here, but we just have to be educated on what these policies are. This is not something that obviously is being taught in our schools. We're not even having the conversations when we see our family at the now that we have gotten back into a new normal, but we're just thinking that we're going to continue to do what's normal now, right? Get back out, let's travel, let's do all these things. But yeah, we haven't even talked about some stuff that we should have been putting in place while we were in a pandemic, right? If we're honest with ourselves, but yet we're going to go back into the same type of environment where we're just going back out, having these wonderful vacations, doing all these things and not realizing that there's things out here that could protect us. Again, things happen. I'm not wishing it on anybody, but I'm sure if we had time, Danielle could tell us story after story after story of people who was living their best life. And let's just be honest, something happened. And
Yes.
now the family is in a situation where, let's just say they don't die. 'Cause I know people don't talk about that, but let's just say they are now in a situation where they cannot communicate, right? But they have all these assets, they have all this land, maybe they have businesses, maybe they have children. Isn't there things that we can do in place for those type of events too, Danielle?
Yes. So there are multiple different policies that you can have in place. And we can talk from different perspectives. So just like when you introduce coins to me, and you can have an outline of what you have in place. But there are certain policies that you can directly to all of those things to take care of it to make sure that your family is not running around, trying to figure out life for you. Um, so there are, let's say, when we talk about like umbrella policies, we can talk about the life insurance policies, everything that can be in place to make sure that in the goal, you guys, and I'm sorry to backtrack, but the goal, you guys, is to make sure that your family is not having to work. Regardless, that's what we have insurance, is to make sure that they don't have to worry. And you can tie your insurance policies as well as the Coins book together
Yeah.
to make sure that your family is not all over the place trying to figure everything out. And I'll speak like a story. So I have one client. Not sure if they're watching, but I have one client whose parent passed, and they
Mhm.
had no clue of anything that the parent had in place. Parent had insurance. Parent had everything that they needed, but they had no clue, and they wound up still having to come out of pocket for everything because
Wow.
they had no clue as to what the parent had. And so, one of the main things, Brandon, you and I talk about is always just sitting down and be able to be
Yes.
open about what you currently have and where it's located.
It,
And I believe, and if there any of my clients watching, you need the Coins book, the Coins journal, because as I always tell you, we make sure that you have everything in order. But God forbid if He takes me from this earth and you're my client, the next agent that takes over, you still have to explain what
hmm
what you have in place, and so you need to make sure there's something there that they can go to figure out how to get everything taken care of for
Exactly. And guys, I know we have some people jumping in. I have some messages coming across my screen. Y'all want to talk, tag y'all friends. I know it's Friday. I know everyone is having things to do, but guess what? We go and do all these great things, and yet we're not talking about this important conversation. Tag your family, and if nothing else, let them come back and watch it later. But this is a conversation we need to have because we're seeing so much. And what Danielle is talking about is not just about a policy for today, right? We're not talking about just ensuring that your house is taken care of. We're talking about stuff that can give you money today. We're talking about insurance that'll help you down the road. And we're also making sure we can be able to find it. Because, like she said, if you have a family member who, let's just say, is sick and or is unable to talk, you know they have insurance. You know Big Mama has it, but you can't even find it. What do you think? Big Mama's thinking like, oh, my family's taking care of it, but no one talked about it, right? And that's what we're seeing even more and more in our community. And so what Danielle is, even though she's licensed in all these states, she's trying to ensure that what happened in her personal life with her grandmother doesn't happen, continue to happen, especially in our community. We don't realize how much money that other communities make and get and obtain just by having insurance and putting themselves on a different trajectory, not for just them, but for their family as well. And
Yes,
so
let's
this,
talk about generational wealth, friends.
yeah,
Let's bring
let's
that
talk
into it.
about
All right.
it.
So life insurance, you guys, y'all have no clue that life insurance is one of the fastest ways that you can build generational wealth. So there's this saying within the Jewish community, never again,
Mm,
right? So the reason they say that is because what happened to them in the Holocaust, they would never allow it to happen again.
right.
So what they do is they put insurance policies. So let's say we have three generations. We have grandmother, we have mother, and we have daughter, right? So the mother would take a policy out on the grandmother and put the children as the beneficiary, right?
Mm,
So the children would then take a policy out on the mother and make their children the beneficiary. So whenever whoever passes, the money goes down to the generation below that. Now, I've tried to teach this to my community, and I want them to understand this, and I've had some blowback from generations higher up. I want my grandchildren don't need no money, that type of thing.
Right.
But here's the thing, we can stop. We can stop that right now. And with our generations, I don't want any grandchildren anytime soon. But we can actually start it where we can have policies. Let's say we talk to our parents and we put it in place where we put a policy on our parents, and not for us, but so that our children
Mhm.
can reap the benefits of that, because they're going to pass regardless if we want to talk about it or not. They're going to pass. So why not put that generation in a place where they can be successful? When
Correct.
you're doing that, there are ways to set your family up. You can be the SBA for your family. Here's how you do it. There are three things that I tell my clients all the time that you can do with your life insurance policies to build generational wealth. Number one, make sure that you have your debt paid off. Have three policies. Okay?
Hmm.
One to pay off your debt, one to make sure that you're taking care of your burial. So that right there, it can be the small policy. That's just, $15,000, $20,000 to take care of burial. Now, if you have family members outside of town, and we all know we have family members that leave our communities and they go off, and hey, they may not have the money to come back for the burial. Well, set aside some money in that burial policy to get them back home. That way, they're not sitting there trying to scrape up money to come on back in. So you have a
Hmm.
policy taking care of your debt, so that's your home, that's student loans, whatever it is that you don't want your children and your spouse to have to bear. You have a policy set up for that. Then you have that second policy taking care of the burial, the funeral, and anybody that needs to come in. Your third policy, this is where you become the SBA for your family. Now, we know some children may not want to go to college. They may not want to, they may want to go to trade school. They may want to start a business, whatever it is. But you have a policy set up that can distribute to them funds for that. So they're not having to go directly to the bank. They're not having to, work 24, 48
Hmm.
hours a day to
Right.
be able to save that money to
Right.
get their business up and running. So you can be that person for them. And not only that, if you get the correct policy, return of premium on burial policies, let's say the policy is for 30 years, right? And ROP, a lot of people don't talk about this within our community. ROP policy is a policy where it's a win-win
Hmm.
situation. You're paying into this policy for 30 years. If the carrier does not have to pay out, you get the money back. So now you
Hmm.
have a setup to where I can buy a single burial policy once I get my funds back. So it's a term policy. It's a policy that can be worth 150, $200,000, even more. But at the end of that term, you get all the money back. So then you can utilize that money to buy you a single burial policy instead of you having to, scrape up to buy a whole life policy.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
there are so many different ways that you can set up your family to be, generationally wealthy. And then if you don't, you're like, okay, Danielle, well, I don't have the money to do three policies. I just don't. And
Right.
that's okay. But you get a policy that's large enough to where you can break it up into three. You can have those things set aside in that one policy. It doesn't have to be three separate policies. If you can get a policy that's $500,000 or 600,000, then you can break that up, and then as your income grows, you can then go and get more. But the wealthy have insurance on everything.
Yeah.
There's nothing that they do not have insurance on. Why? Because they're transferring the risk. That's what insurance is for. I
Hmm.
don't want to have to come out of my pocket. I'm going to pay this small amount, and then I'm going to get the large benefit at the end. So that's the difference in our mindset, is that the wealthy already know, hey, this is what insurance is for, and all it's going to do is continue to set my family up. Because imagine, think about what type of legal entity that you can put in maybe $50 a month, and in return, if something happens, you can get 600, $700,000. That ain't
Right,
doing
easily, easily. But
right.
I think in our community, we don't talk about this because we're not educated on this. This is one of those things where, like, you hear about people saying, if you ever want to leave somebody some money, put it in a book. It's because we're not having this discussion. You just told us that if you get a large enough policy, we need to put it, get three policies inside of that. Who else is telling us that? Nobody. They just say, okay, just go out here, get you a policy, and that's it, right? They're just giving you the basics. What Danielle has just taught us is that we need to have a policy large enough to not only include for our family, but it can be for debt. That means one part of it. If it's 500,000, you tell them, "Hey, Danielle, I want $50,000 just to bury me. For any of my debt, I got $100,000 in debt. So that helps. So now that 500, now that's the rest can be used for your family or whatever. But you can be able to orchestrate that to help ensure that you're setting your family up for success. And then number two, let's just be honest, there is nobody, you all don't have to worry about getting into an argument, right? Because, well,
Right.
I thought they want us to do this. I wanted to do this. I mean, let's just be honest. That's what happens when people don't have a blueprint or they don't have it written down. Because when we don't write things down, we lose out because we don't know what to do. And we just think, well, there's no instructions, right?
We
Danielle,
figure it out on our own. We figure it out on our own, and that's when the heads start butting, and
yep.
everybody starts, coming apart, and we're trying to figure out why my family is like this. It's because the person that did put the money in place didn't tell us what to do. So it's that's the issue. So we have to be able to give instructions, regardless of how old we are. We
Yeah.
still need instructions. And if I want you to do things the way I want you to do it, I'm going to tell you how to do it, and that's where the
Mhm.
instructions go. And so the three places that you put it, I want to tell you this is what I want you to do with this portion. This is what I
Mhm.
want you to do here, and do this here. So that way, no argument, you can't say, oh, well, you chose to do it this way. No, this is what she wanted us to do. This is what he wanted us to do. And so you have no arguments because now everything is laid out. I don't have to figure out, well, oh, well, she had $100,000 in debt. Am I supposed to do, put all of this there? Well, if that's what she told you to do, that's what you're going to do because it is instructed for her to have that debt paid off.
Now let's talk about that. Debts don't die, right? So if
Nope.
debts don't die, y'all, you can't say, well, who gonna know? Nobody, the whole thing, nobody's gonna know. Nobody. Yes, they're gonna know because if you still owe that debt or your family member, if it's tied to a house and you don't pay the money off with the money that was left, guess what? They're gonna come back and realize you number one, the mortgage company is gonna default on this loan, and then what's gonna happen is it's gonna go into foreclosure, and then from foreclosure, if you haven't paid taxes and all that, then you lose out on your house. So you can't say nobody knows because it's going to come out. So you don't want to be greedy and think, well, who's really gonna really know what's gonna happen? If you all are still benefiting from that house or those cars or whatever it is that you all are benefiting from, you have to be able to do right with the money that's been left.
And so what I always tell my clients is, and no offense to my realtor friends,
I
but
understand.
what you don't what you don't want is you're sitting on the couch, mourning the person that was taking care of everything at the house, and here comes the realtor knocking on your door. Hey, do you want me to sell your house for you? What you want to be able to do is tell the realtor, I'll let you know. I don't
Mhm.
need you at the moment. And so that can be established from the beginning because there are things that you can put in place, and one of those policies that you can put in place is called a mortgage protection policy. A lot
Mm.
of people say, "Oh, I don't need that. I just have a regular life insurance policy." No, here's the thing: you do need a mortgage protection policy. The reason for that is because it's dedicated directly to the mortgage. Like you're saying, oh, well, somebody might say, well, I don't need to pay that. They'll never know. The mortgage protection policy goes directly to the mortgage. And so you won't have to worry about if somebody, decides they don't want to pay your mortgage with the life insurance policy, that the home that you've worked so hard for disappears. This mortgage will be paid off in the end, so they don't have to worry about it. And if you decide, hey, well, I can't afford it, because again, life happens. You may not be able to afford a full mortgage, because sometimes we have houses that are like 300, $400,000. I
Yep.
can't get a mortgage on a $400,000 house. I can't do the mortgage protection. Okay, no problem. Do what I tell my clients. Give your family time. Take the amount that you pay every month, multiply that by 5 years, right? So you will multiply, say it's $500, do that times 12, and then do that times 5, right? That gives your family members 5 years to figure out what they want to do with that home. Do they want to rent it out? Do they want to sell it?
Mm.
What do they want to do with the home for those 5 years? But you don't have to worry about somebody coming and sweeping up under them and taking a home that you worked so
Right.
hard for away from them. Give your family time because if you're the breadwinner of that home, you need to make sure that that home that you worked hard for is not taken from your family. Because again, we're talking about generational wealth. Your home is a part of that. That's
Right.
something that you can pass down. And so you don't want the bank coming and swooping in. You paid $300,000 of mortgage note, and then now you only have 30,000 left, but the bank comes under and takes
Mhm.
it for 15, and now every piece of generational wealth that you've had is gone. Like how would you would be rolling over in your grave, literally trying
Right.
to figure out why did I do that, and you don't want that situation to happen to your family. So give them some time if you cannot afford to get the full mortgage protected.
Okay, so wait, you threw some gems out, and I don't want to miss that part. So, for the mortgage protection plan specifically, you mentioned I got the numbers like 12, every month times 12, and then you take that amount times five. The question I'm asking is, what was the amount? Are we talking about their rental amount?
Their mortgage amount.
Mortgage amount.
So
I'm
let's
sorry.
yes. So how much? Let's say their mortgage. I know nobody mortgage right now is $500 a month, but if it's $500 a month,
Okay.
do that times 12, which is for the year, and
Right.
then go times 5 years. So you would give them 5 years worth of mortgage payments to
Okay.
be able to figure out life.
Okay, so this is how you would add up in or determine how much mortgage insurance to buy.
Yes,
Again, doing that 5-year process. Okay, now I understand. So that makes sense. I mean, you all, even as a licensed real estate broker, I mean, that's something I'm definitely going to start having with my clients, right? You definitely want to protect yourself. And even if, again, we're not saying this stuff that you got to do tomorrow, but we're saying start looking at this. Let's figure out what stuff we can budget and making sure that this is again like another savings account for us, right? For our families. But at the same time, this is going to help make sure that our families are in better positions. Now, typically, most people probably want to know about costing, Danielle. What was something like this cost for people?
so the older you get, the more it costs, right? We know that about life insurance. Um, so we can start out with babies. You can go as young as 2 weeks old to get them coverage. And this is why I tell people all the time, get the coverage on your juveniles. It does not mean they're going to die. It means that you are protecting their life. Here's the thing. When you get them the policy at 2 weeks old, or a month, or however many every year before they turn 18, you are locking in their amount for the rest of their life.
Right.
So if you can get them $100,000 at 15, $20 a month. When they get to be 40, and God forbid, knock on wood, all of that good stuff that they may have heart issues, they may have high blood pressure. When they get to be 40, 45, that $100,000 might cost them $175 a month. But if you started their policy out when they were 2 weeks or months old or as a juvenile, they will only be paying what you paid for them. So you've given them $100,000 in insurance for the amount that you were paying when they were younger. They will never, as long as that policy doesn't lapse, they pay that amount for the rest of their lives. And so one of the good things is I tell my clients, and this I can go back into the adults, but with the children, don't just get them just a regular whole life policy. Look
Mm.
into what's called a universal life policy. Why? Because that acts as a savings vehicle. Okay? So you can become your own bank. Your child has her own bank. Your child has his own bank. But when he gets older, he wants to start that business. He wants to buy that car. He wants to buy that house.
Yes.
He does not have to go to a bank. The life insurance policy has accrued enough cash that he can take that money down from there and utilize that money. So becoming your own bank with a life insurance policy, it should be the goal for everyone. That should be
Mhm.
what you're doing. I'm feeding my life insurance policy so that it can in turn pay for all the things that I want.
And now, right there, we can just end that because if you think about it, guys, a universal life insurance policy, again, we've been talking about different ways on how to be able to talk about the now, right? And stop thinking about, oh, this is just about death and it's not. The universal life insurance policy is the way to go. When you all think about these sweet 16s, all this stuff y'all want to do when they get ready to go to college, you need money, and maybe money is funny at that point. Guess what? If you've been paying on this policy when they were young, it may have enough value now that you should be able to get something to help get them a cash car or get them something so they can at least go to school in a nice car debt free
Yeah.
because you've been already saving this money all this other time. And if you really think about how much money let's just be honest, we all take money that we could be like, oh, where did that money go? But if nothing else, we can be able to trace this money because we'll be able to see it in real time as it relates to this universal life policy. So this is something that you all could do for your children. I mean, if you haven't, it's not too late. But like you said, for juveniles, the policy amount is so inexpensive. I'll be completely honest. My daughters both have one. Why? Because I mean, it was just like a no-brainer. I, put money for so many other different things instead of maybe putting money there. Put this money for my children to make sure that they have access to these type of events and things. Because at the end of the day, who knows? Let them grow up and be at a point where they need $100,000. Then hey, you got $100,000 access. It don't even work. It don't even touch my money, right?
Right.
It
Right.
doesn't even touch me. It's their money, but I've just basically put into it at intervals by just paying a simple policy, even if it's I think a couple dollars a month. When I say dollars, I mean like $20 a month. Think about how much you think about $20 that you blow on food and all kind of other stuff, or if you spent for the kids for whatever fundraiser, right? This is your own child's fundraiser, right?
Right.
So and if you got grandparents that love to give them money, use
Good
that
policy.
get a policy.
Good
Don't keep
policy.
money there. Just use a policy. So I know Danielle has said so much. I have people saying, okay, we need more of this. This is a great topic. I know we will have to have her back. Danielle, how can they get in contact with you? Because I know that you got all their insurance needs, but they need to be able to call you.
Yeah, definitely. So, because we are in so many different states, I definitely want to give our 1-800 number. So that way, if you are whatever, it will go directly to that area. So they can reach us at 1-800-942-2675. So that's 1-800-942-2675. And they can call, they can ask for a quote, if even if they don't necessarily want a quote at the time, but they just need some answers. They need, to figure out, okay, well, how would this benefit my situation? You just
Right.
need to talk or, figure out a consultation pretty much. We can definitely do that. The goal is to make sure that you understand it because we get a bad rep in the insurance industry. We really do. And it's because all we do is want to sell, they want to sell you a policy, but they're not explaining to you how to leverage these policies to make your life better. It's not just about loss. Insurance is not just about loss. There are so many ways that my clients are utilizing their insurance policies to make their lives better, and that's all because they're being educated. And so that's the goal here at our agency is to make sure that you are educated in order to leverage those insurance policies.
Right. I think that's the topic for the next one. How to leverage to make your lives better through insurance. I mean, guys, that's the beauty, and that's really why she's here. Is because we don't talk about it enough in our community, and or we just don't know enough about it. So we approach it with that. Well, that's not. They're not talking to me, or we just put our head in the sand, thinking that it'll go away, and
Right,
or that this is not a conversation I need to have now. Well, if you think about it, when do you have it? When
right,
when is a good time? You want to talk about it when you're coherent, when you have things going, and there's no such thing as I'm too young to get an insurance policy.
a
Who
lot of
said
people only want insurance when they can't get it.
exactly?
That's
Now
when they want the
when
life
you
insurance.
get sick, right, or you're on your deathbed and we're at the hospital, now they're like, okay, well, how are we gonna bury Big Mama or whatever?
Because we
That's
can
when
give
we'll
you the policy, we can give it to you, but the insurance carrier is not going to pay out. So you're going to be paying
know.
for nothing. And that's the issue. A lot of agents will just sign you up, and then you're at the end. You're trying to figure out, hey, what am I supposed to do? I'm just all you're gonna do is get that amount of money that you paid into it. So the goal is to make sure you have an agent that's
Wait,
going
wait,
to
wait. I'm
tell
sorry.
you.
Time out there. Wait, wait, wait. I said it, we were gonna call it off. What you mean? So you mean to tell me that if let's just say it's a big mama and we decide to give Big Mama $100,000 policy because she's sick, and certain agents will just literally be like, okay, I'll sign you up for $100,000 policy. However, let's just say a month later, Big Mama passes on. They're not gonna get that $100,000.
No, all you're gonna get is what you paid that insurance agent. That's it. You don't get your $100,000. So you need to make sure. Yes, you need to make sure that the policy, because again, there are multiple different policies, that the policy caters to what's going on in your life. If Big Mama is sick, Big Mama needs a guaranteed life insurance policy.
Ah,
But they're not going to tell you that because one, they take too long to get in place. But
mhm.
that's what Big Mama's going to need. And so you need an agent that's going to tell you and listen to what's going on in your life in order to tell you, okay, this policy goes with what's going on. This is not what you need. I'm not just going to tell you something because I want the commission. That's not how it goes in my life and in my business. I'm going to make sure that your family is taken care of, and that's how it works.
Wow, yeah, she just made me rethink some stuff again. Every time we have conversations, I always rethink some things. But guys, that is just a huge gem that has been left for us. You really have to think about who's really there. Are they there to help you? Are they pushing you to help understand exactly what's going on in your family dynamics? And then from there, they want to be able to be a person that you realize that is going to be on your team. And I think that's obviously what Danielle's insurance company is going to do is that's what she's talking about. She is helping you to not just see one aspect of insurance. She's looking at it holistically, not from just your personal side, but she definitely can help you for those small businesses as well. And again, we haven't even touched into the small business, and we'll have to bring her on that portion later. But just know, hey, sunshine, that having insurance, having the right people in place for these type of conversations is critical because, like she said, if you just go out here and tell Big Mama, hey, Big Mama, you're not feeling good. We just got you a policy, and then something happens 2 months later, and that insurance company you only paid what? Let's just say it's $400. That's all they have to give
That's
you
all you
all.
get.
That's it. And you literally, and everybody think we're gonna get $100,000. We got to put Big Mama in the ground, and you only got 400,000. I mean $400 that you put in. Y'all are gonna be upset. But that agent is not gonna tell you that because guess what? They wanted that policy,
They want
right?
their money, right?
So and then we got to talk about when she comes back, universal life for our children. That's a huge point that we don't even know about in our community. We're not talking to people about I mean, I've never, be honest, no one ever talked to me about universal life. It wasn't until I got another insurance agent who was not. Let me just be honest, they didn't look like me, and they told me about universal life
That's
insurance.
what they use.
And but that's what they use, right? But I
That's what
had
they
no
use.
idea. And so when I questioned, I had to ask a couple questions to get the answers. And then so I was like, well, wait, how does this work? And that's how I found my answer. But it wasn't necessarily a conversation that was just like, oh, hey, you should do this for this. It was because I kept asking based on the circumstances with my mother and making sure I wanted to make sure my children were protected that I ended up getting this answer. But it wasn't a voluntarily, like, oh, let me tell you about universal life insurance for your daughter. No, that wasn't how that worked. But obviously being with Danielle, helping Danielle, being under Danielle, helping her for her to help me understand the benefits of insurance, understanding why insurance is important, what it can do for my family. Even if you think about, I just do want you to talk about one more topic, Danielle. Even when it talks about when people come to your house and everybody's about to come back outside, children are about to start going and playing in your house, right? Or outside your house. I want you to tell them because guys, when she told me this, I called my husband was like, guess what we about to get?
So, what she's talking about is the liability portion of the insurance policy. So a lot of people don't get that on their homeowners. They don't get it on their renters portion. So why do you need the liability? Because the liability portion is if somebody comes onto your property, they slip and they fall, you are held liable for that, and they can sue you if you only spend $10 to $15 for a liability policy, and they need $100,000 worth of medical insurance, it's a no-brainer. You pay $15 a month, and somebody slips and falls, they can come out with 100,000, 300,000, whatever it is that your policy is up to. They can pay that liability for you. So, because we can do a show just on liability,
Okay.
just talking about liability, because it goes a lot further. Because for my investors, for those who have rental properties,
Yep.
for those who just have a regular home, and what you don't know is a lot of people that fall off the roof of their home, they're thinking that their homeowner's policy is going to pay for that. That does not go that way. You cannot get money from your homeowner's insurance if you fall off of your own roof, right? No, you can't do that. Now, if you have a worker that's over there and they fall, they can get paid. So there are things that you need to put in place to make sure that your family is protected. Okay, so liability is a very, very broad topic that I would love to discuss with
Okay.
everybody, business owners. You have to have some form of liability coverage on your policies because that protects you from slips, from falls, from things hitting on people's foot. And in certain areas, we have very sue happy people. And so they will sue you for anything. And
Anything.
the liability portion of your insurance policy protects you from that. So you're like, oh, okay, I'm okay. We don't have to be all stressed out if somebody gets hurt. We don't want them to be hurt. But what we do know is that our home, our business is not going to be taken away from us because they did hurt themselves. Because why? We have the insurance in place to take care of
And I think even one of the things is that when you're talking about that topic is, let's think about we have children, right? And your kids' friends come over to your house. So say you all have that trampoline outside or a swimming pool or whatever those things look like. And even if it's just a regular bike, things happen. And like you just said, if you have parents who are sue happy or love to figure out, oh, my daughter got hurt, right? Or this happened and she messed her leg up and now it was a little scratch that turned into a whole $1 million policy, right? Because now they
them.
blew up, the leg just fell off now, right? But all they were doing was playing on the bike. But the parent is gonna sell it that my daughter can no longer walk again because
Right.
we just gotta add extra. We gotta be extra. You're If you don't have the right policies, that family can basically come back and sue you.
Yes, so we need to talk about that. We also need to talk about getting the umbrella policy on top of their regular general liability. Because as a people, we are coming up. We are getting our assets and we are putting our assets in place. And what all we know is about the bottom part of the insurance. But there are other
Mhm.
policies that you need to put on top of those basic insurance policies to protect your family. So we got teens that are driving. We have
Yeah.
all this stuff that's going on, you need an additional policy, umbrella policy to protect everything. Because if you don't have enough in your regular policy, guess what they can come after next? Your personal assets or your business assets. So if you have an umbrella policy, that all of that's protected. Because
Wow.
now it goes from your regular policy to your umbrella policy, which is considered surplus. They then tap into that and all your assets are protected. So now that we are a generation that's priding ourselves on all the fancy cars and all the fancy homes, people will try to come and take that away from you. They don't want to work for it, so they're going to come and try and take it away from you. And so you need to protect those things that you are working so hard for. So there are other things, we just touching the surface of insurance, but there are other pieces of insurance that can protect you. And again, our community does not know about it. Why? Because we are always behind. There's no one teaching us. Once we catch on, they moved on to the next thing. And so we need people that are listening and inside of legislation and finding out what's new in order to educate us, to tell us what we need in order to make sure that our stuff is not being taken away from
Guys, I mean, again, we're gonna have to bring Danielle back because I'm seeing some people like, wait. So guess what, Danielle, you got to come back because we have so much to talk about. We don't even have enough time, and the people are not even understanding. Like we have literally talked about some things. Y'all got to go and run it back and play it again. But you got to get in touch with Danielle. Let's start the basics. I think before we end, what will be the basic things that they need to do, Danielle, outside of calling you? But what will be the basics that we need to have, even for our family, whether we have a house or children? What would you suggest? And then I'm going to give everybody your 800 number.
Okay, so before, and here's the thing, I would like to give you all basics, but what I want you to do first, I want you, because I'm sure you have some type of insurance policy. Take out your insurance policy and review it. I tell my clients, and Brandon, you know this, we do a review every year
Yeah.
on your policies to make sure that you are covered correctly. So you take out that old policy and you look at it, because guess what? We have people who put policies, they purchased the policy in 2001 and haven't looked at it since. Take that policy out and look at it and compare it to what you currently have,
Yeah.
where your life is now, because every year something is changing in your life. And
Mhm.
if you look at it, I'm sure there are gaps that can be taken and closed up, because you want to make sure that everything is covered. The value on your home, the value of, if you had a life insurance policy that was taking care of certain debt, I'm sure your debt may have increased or it may have decreased. You might want to go ahead and check on that. On your auto vehicles, don't just go with your state minimum. Make sure that you're protected. Take a look at your policy and look at them and make sure that there are no gaps in there. Compare them to where you were to where you are now and make sure everything is covered from the top to the bottom. So I would suggest you starting there, because
Okay.
what I don't want is, I don't want people to rush to their agents like, well, I need this, I need that. But look at where you currently are and then sit down with a licensed agent and say, hey, this is what I need protected. Show me what I need in order to make sure that these gaps are covered.
Okay. So now that means tell your insurance agent everything. These should be again people on your team that are invested in making sure you're protected. Again, we're not saying, hey, go call these people and fire them tomorrow, but if
Right.
that's okay, that's fine. But the point is we want just ask questions. Ask them, hey, what happens? Do you have a policy for my car or my children, or if somebody comes to my house? Let them tell you. But you need to be able to at least have the discussion. And now that you have the blueprint and the framework, you can listen to the original message and get our tips, but you can now have a framework on how to approach them. And if you don't like what they're saying and maybe you don't understand and you want somebody that may break it down a little bit better, like Danielle is, call her. Again, she's licensed in multiple states. And her phone number is 1-800-942-2675. But more importantly, what Danielle has been talking to us about and extensively is making sure that you know exactly how to protect not just yourself, but your family, your resources, and you're creating things that won't happen. Let's just say if something were to happen, but you create legacy now. And there's things in place that we have no idea about, and or we just may scratch the surface with, but we really haven't done ourselves a justice to help our family. So thank you, Danielle, for being here. Thank you all
Problem.
so much. You all should call Danielle again, 1-800-942-2675. She is the owner of Lewis Smith Insurance Agency. She does have me protected as well. I will go ahead and tell you all that. But because of her knowledge and just the fact of her being a wealth of resources to protect not only my personal, but as well as our business things that we have going on and everything in between. Because at the end of the day, to Danielle's point, it's not something that was discussed with me at an extensive end. And when I found out, I jumped on it. So thank you, Danielle, for being here. I'm going to drop you all down and I'll be right back with you. So, guys, I know we went over a little bit today, but it was because at the end of the day, this was a great conversation. Danielle has to come back. There are so many other topics that we didn't even know about. And I definitely want to make sure that you being a part of this community, that's the whole purpose of this. Start to understand where we have not heard about these wealth generating ideas and or topics. And maybe we just heard about them, but no one has ever really come on here and explained it in this detail and at this level. So you definitely want to make sure you're a part of this group. This group is giving you all a lot of gems at no charge, but more importantly, it's because I want to make sure we all win. We're well when our money is taken care of, our finances, our health, and our family, but it starts with us learning more than we ever knew existed when we have conversations. And that's what COINZ does. Again, she talked about being able to write everything down, having things in a simple place. That's what the COINZ Legacy Keeper is designed for. Go to the website, grab you one. Definitely make sure you're having these conversations. Number two, if you need resources on how to be able to budget, those resources are on the website as well. www.mycoinsjournal.com. click on the resource button. You'll see a free PDF. You'll see an Excel spreadsheet. I'm helping you understand how to be able to start to budget, to be able to start having these additional funds for insurance policies, as well as the multiple things that you may want to do in your house. So, guys, thank you all so much for joining me. I look forward to our next guest, and we will continue on this journey to be well in all of our everything that we do. So, guys, thank you all so much. The links will be in the chat, and I look forward to talking with you all soon. Have an amazing rest of your day. Bye bye.